Page 11, keeping in step. Introducing what's called a grand staff. I don't know if they call it a grand staff here. I didn't read all the words, but it is. You have the two staffs. A staff is those 5 lines, okay? And there's 2 of those. And in front, they're connected with a vertical line all the way through. And in front of that vertical line, there's a curly brace, okay? That identifies it as a grand staff. And most keyboard instruments use this. It's a combination of the 2 staffs with that curly brace in front of them. Most of the time, it'll have a treble clef on top and a bass clef on the bottom, but that's not a requirement. The clefs can switch around and do whatever. They could both be treble, they could both be bass, they could be whatever. It's whatever the music needs it to be. But I think in most of the time, certainly in this book, the top one's going to be treble and the bottom one's going to be bass. Now as far as the hands go, it's just convenient, right and left wise, that the right hand plays the upper notes because it's closest to them, and the left hand plays the lower notes because it's closest to them, right? It's not always going to be the case. Sometimes your hands are going to cross. That gets fun. Wait till you get there. So in most cases, the right hand is going to play the notes on the top staff, the higher notes, and the left hand's going to play the notes on the bottom staff, the lower notes. When that differs, when that changes, and it will, I'll explain it to you. It's not too complicated, but don't worry about it for now. So in keeping in pace is the same stuff we've already had. You have the same notes we've already had. You're going to put your hands on the same position we've already had, where the thumbs are sharing middle C. We call that a middle C position, by the way. Now, a piano key is not wide enough for 2 hands, or at least my fingers. It can't hold it. It's awkward. So what happens is one hand or the other will play the C. If the right hand plays the C, the left hand thumb gets out of the way. If the left hand thumb plays the C, the right hand thumb gets out of the way. All right, it's one or the other. You don't need 2 fingers to push a key down on piano anyway. It's just not necessary. Very rarely, only in a special circumstance would you ever do that. I wouldn't worry about it. Now, again, my goal is that you understand all the symbols you see in the written music. They're all important or they wouldn't be there. So you understand the curly brace. That identifies it as a grand staff. And by the way, it could have more than 2 staffs. All right? It's just 2 is the most common. And I'm sure in this book 2 is all it's going to be. You get into more advanced music, you might see 3 staffs. We know what the treble and the bass clefs look like. You know what the major lines or bar lines. Major or bar lines, same difference. It's the vertical lines that split the music up into measures or bars. Then at the end of the second line, you see 2 vertical bars. You see a thin one and a thick one. All right, that's important. That signifies it's the end of the piece. All right, you browse through the book, you're going to find that the end of the piece, wherever it is, probably has one of these thin and thick lines. Now, it's important when you get into more advanced music and you're turning pages, as many pages, because when you finally get to the page where that thin and thick black line is, you know you don't have to go any further. That's it, you're done. With all that rambling going on, let's try this keeping in step out. They still have the counting in there. Those are the red numbers. See, that's not part of the music. That's just something the author of the book has stuck in here to help you out. All right? That's extra. That's not going to be there forever. In fact, the second line on this does not have the counting in it. But hopefully you are counting, either out loud or to yourself. I don't care which, but it's important that you get into the habit of counting. It has to become second nature to you eventually. So let's try this out. I usually count out loud for us on the long notes to make sure you hold them the full length or however they got to be. I don't usually count out loud on the quarter notes because every quarter note is on a beat right now. Where do the hands go? Well, I just talked about that. It's middle C position. So your thumb's on middle C and then all the other fingers are just next to them. Right? It's the same position we've been in the past. It hasn't changed. All right. So leave your thumb. Now the right hand doesn't play for a couple measures, but go ahead and leave it up there so it's ready to go. We don't want to be moving around in there. The idea is to be able to play this without looking at the keyboard. Don't be trying to look down at the keyboard every time you play a note. That's no. You put your hands where they go, and unless you have to move your hands around quite a bit, you got to look at the keyboard for that. Otherwise, don't. Look at the music. If you memorize it, you can close your eyes and play. That's just wonderful to try that. So I'm going to give us 4 counts to start. I'm going to go 1, 2, ready, go, and then we're going to play together, right? The idea is for you to listen to the note you're playing and the note I'm playing, and are they the same note? For instance, the very first note. If I play this, you play your first note. Does it sound the same? You know, is it this note? That doesn't sound the same as this note. See, it's different. So make sure you're playing the same note I'm playing. That's the whole reason I'm doing this. At the same time, so we get the rhythm right, all right? So let's try this. So put your hands up where they go. 4 counts and we'll start. 1, 2, ready, go. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, off.